Let's start at the beginning. And I was thinking about, I know a little bit about your beginning, but I actually didn't realize that I know that you were raised somewhat in Panama, but where were you actually born?
Born in Camp Pendleton, Oceanside here in San Diego.
Because your dad was in the Marine Corps.
That's right. So I'm a native of San Diego, but 2 years I grew up in Venezuela, 2 years in Panama, and my whole life I've been all around the world, traveling, learning the world. It's very important to study.
How old were you when you moved to Venezuela?
I was in third grade, so 8, 9 years old.
Did you go right into Spanish-speaking school?
Well, they had English and Spanish at the same time. I didn't speak Spanish. That was actually a problem for me. And I actually learned Spanish fluently when I lived in Panama. I was in junior high. And that was, of course, during the invasion.
Did you go to a Spanish school? Spanish-speaking school? Or did you just learn it out in the streets?
I learned best from, let's say, free rolling. Let's say something, talking, saying something, you do it wrong, you actually learn how to speak better. So I've actually been dropped off in countries and learned languages that way. It's the best way, actually. So you have no choice.
Immersion,
exactly. In Panama, it was DOD, Department of Defense School. And matter of fact, they used my junior high as a hospital, a field hospital during the Panama invasion. And that's where I actually learned Spanish. I had survival Spanish when I was a little kid, but Panama.
What years did you live in Panama?
89, 88. So I was 7th and 8th grade around that time.
7th and 8th grade, you lived in Panama. The invasion went down in 89, I think December of 89.
December 18th or 20th, I forget. Yeah.
And you were like in it. It was happening around you.
What happened was Fort Amador, which actually means Fort Lover in Spanish. It's a Navy base. It's not a very big base, but it's the only base in Panama they were trying to make a joint effort to have half Panamanian. Well, imagine I was in the middle of about maybe 80 yards from where my house was, down a hill. About 40 guys got massacred there. I mean, the front gate to the base. Some PDF, the Panamanian Defense Force, police, military, same thing down there. They tried to run a Marine roadblock in a bus.
That's not going to work out good for them.
And the Marines had 50 cal and the bus grinded to a halt, basically. It just didn't make it. So, yeah, that's right.
What did they do with the families during that time? Well, so, like, what did your dad, did he have to work, or did he?
Yeah, he was at Corey Heights, which is the main, headquarters. So he was basically underground, this big rock, and he could not tell us. So he knew, but there's no way it was like top secret, whatever, compartmentalized, whatever you would say, as far as he couldn't let us know.
And he didn't send you out of the country?
It happened real fast.
Yeah.
Because they killed a Marine lieutenant, I believe his name was Lieutenant Paz, and that was that was not the reason. That was the boulder that broke the camel's back.
For sure.
And sent in all our forces. That caused me some problems, though, in school, because most of the kids were Panamanian kids. They called them zonies. Their parents worked on the Panama Canal, and so they were pretty well off. I went to decent school down there, and because of that, everyone from Panama had an uncle or a cousin who died, and so they see me. By the way, I was a goofy little kid. Not saying I wasn't tough. I was just goofy. So didn't speak Spanish. I was goofy. My social skills were a little bit awkward. Maybe they are to this day, actually. And that's a recipe for disaster, right? So that's actually.
Were you scrawny?
I was always tough, scrawny, but I wasn't. I didn't get big until I was like 16, 17. Yeah. Started growing real fast. Yeah.
And so you were getting scraps down there, basically.
Lots, yeah.
Because you were a gringo.
Oh, gringo. They call this Yankee down there. Gringo didn't exist. That's
okay.
Yankee. Everywhere was Yankee go home. It was graffiti everywhere. Yankee, and then they spelled wrong. HOM. And Yankee was YANQUI, spelled like Spanish.
So the school was on base?
No, it was out of town.
Off base.
You take a bus. Matter of fact, it was really stupid. They actually had a failed coup about, I think, 2 weeks before the invasion. One of Manuel Noriega's top guys, generals, successfully took him down. And the loyalists to Noriega came to his rescue, and the general surrendered. But that day, the country was on high alert, and we're going home on the bus back to get dropped off to my base and other bases. And the Panamanian PDF, Panamanian Defense Force guys, were in a machine gun nest, and I'm telling you, all these high school kids, I knew enough to just shut up. They opened the window and started taunting these guys, and these guys had what are the PKM?
Some kind of PKM.
It was pointed right at us, and they were like looking at us, and man, they didn't shoot us, but that was one of those things. When you're young, you do stupid things apparently. So yeah, so I was right there. It was that was a crazy time. It was good though. I'm actually glad. And this is. Oh, I was teased Jocko, which is, I don't think he appreciates it, but I was like, Jocko, I saw war before you. Technically, it's true. Jocko was like, yeah, whatever. So I've seen 1/10 of 1% or whatever.
But you were what, 10 years old?
I was 13.
No, 13
12,
years old?
12,
okay,
yeah.
that's actually, you actually had more of an understanding. If you were a little bit younger, you know, you might not really get it, but you had enough understanding to realize that you were in danger and stuff.
Yeah, so for 24 hours, we were all alone, pitch dark. Basically, I was just on the ground for 3 days, and my mom filled up the bathtub with water, and I thought I was going to die. Really, and you know, you're 12 years old, you could think a lot, but that changed my life actually. Just to have that experience was actually a good thing.
You were on base that was secured by U.S. forces.
It was becoming secured. It was the only base in Panama that was half Panamanian. Across the street down a hill was the Panamanian officers. So it was a joint effort. In my situation, most of the U.S. kids. Or like Howard, they were in Rodman, they were over these hills. And they heard gunshots and, you know, concussions, whatever, but they didn't see anything.
Right.
They might have seen a few tracers. But yeah, I was right in the middle.
Did any rounds hit your house?
Like we are on top of a hill, so a few things chipped the top of our roof. And for sure, if you walk by a window, someone could shoot you. So we didn't do that, of course. And we just drank out of a bathtub.
And it was just you and your mom and your sister.
My mom.
And your dad was at work.
My dad was working.
He must have been freaked out.
Our neighbor, we had giant yards between these houses. Nice houses, actually. And the neighbor, she was all by herself, so it was just no kids. She ran over across this, I'd say 100 yards. The yards were really wide, and she's knocking on our door. She came in, so we had a fourth. It was a young lady. To me, it was an old lady. She was probably 25.
Yeah.
To me, that was an old
oldest
lady.
person you've ever seen in your life.
She came.
Did your dad leave any weapons at the house? Dang. I'd have been like, Dad,
probably for
come
a reason,
on.
I would have strapped up and
go get some.
Not really, but yeah, my dad was. It was just a sudden thing. It was a short notice, and he was. Yeah, it happened at around 11. Before midnight, 11:35 or something. And I thought it was firecrackers first, and then just shaking and flashes everywhere, just chaotic.
And then did you finish out that school year? So that goes down in December. It was got quelled pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'd say 2 days of very intense. First day was the most. Second was serious. Third was okay, and the next week was just like a mop-up operations. So still for 10 days it was dangerous. But the first. One of my teachers from my junior high got killed and was just out in the street at the wrong time. And he was living in town, actually. That's why he was in the wrong place, wrong time. And I don't know how. Yeah, he got shot, but I'm not sure by who. But the wrong place, wrong time. So, right in the middle of it.
Yeah, we used to go down to Panama to do jungle training. Yeah. It was awesome, but it was after. I mean, this is in the 90s, so. But we went in and we'd look around, try and find, where some of these battles took place, and it was interesting.